Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, I am as excited as I can be to introduce our guest to you. But before I do, there are a few people I want to thank who we always thank. We want to thank the Mighty Quinn Brass and Winds at www.brassandwinds.com. These friends of ours are always able to help us find the right instrument for our students here at Willow Music. Please check them out, www.brassandwinds.com. You're watching Truer MU. I want to help you understand the truth about music and the music about the truth. So without further ado, let's introduce our guest to you. Jason Herman is a DC-based sports, concert, and world photographer. He is featured in the documentary A Year in the Pit, A Journey into Music Photography, and I have never had a guest like this before, so I'm excited. Jason, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
It is good to see you. First of all, do you realize how many Jason Hermans there are that take pictures? I was looking for you on the internet, and there must be 3 or 4 of you. Did you know this?
No, but I used to do an ego search years ago, and there was a Jason Herman professional NASCAR driver, a Jason Herman weathercaster. So,
no,
I blame, yes.
There's a guy on YouTube. Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube who reviews camera equipment, Jason Herman. There's another photographer, Jason Herman. I don't know. Are these all you?
These are all me. I'm the present. It's you can only have one facade at a time, but this is the one I choose right now. This is the body I'm going to be in.
Assuming that's a lie, let's ask a question that's related.
Yes.
Do you find particular personality traits among music photographers? Is there something about all of you that's the same?
Yes and no. I think we all have this need to capture, this just obsessive need to capture the magic. So we're always looking, we're always trying to go out and photograph again and again. Everyone has their different motivations. Some people want to be, you're in a room of 20,000 people, for example. Last week I was photographing Counting Crows at Merriweather Post Pavilion. There's 20,000 people there, and I'm one of 10 people with a camera. Some people like the fact that they're one of the few people with the camera. Some people, for example, me, I love practicing my craft. I love practicing art. So I used to do art and paint and charcoal, watercolor, and eventually I changed the medium. So me, that's what I love. I love my craft. I love capturing that moment that doesn't exist anywhere except in the camera. But every photographer out there, they want to capture. So there's this obsessiveness, but I want to capture that performance.
So is this something that you talk about with the other photographers? Like, did you catch that, or look what I caught, that kind of thing?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of photographers, it's almost like, scuba diving or any track and field where everyone gets together afterward and tells their war stories and tells what they captured, what they did. Sometimes you'll see a photographer look at someone else and go, hey, look what I got. Or a photographer, one of the things I did is I went to Merle Fest and in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. I knew I captured a perfect moment. I stopped photographing. I went down there, threw from my camera to my phone, did my Lightroom editing, and uploaded it to Instagram. And then I take a look at the photographers and go, hey, look, already uploaded. How'd you do that? So there's a lot of, it's usually a lot of camaraderie in the pit. That's the one thing I will say is we share the passion. And we sometimes do what's called photo pit yoga or photo pit dancing, where in the photo pit, it's an entirely different world. And so you have to be photographing in front of you. Oh, sorry, in the camera. Photographing in front of you and looking out of one of the eyes and being like, oh, I see someone over there. I see someone over there, and being able to kind of have a dance in the photo pit where you're not getting in people's way or letting people in. And so it's a collaboration. Everyone has to be nice to one another and be friends because you're all occupying. The rule is in photography for people who don't know. And I think this comes down to derivative of Bruce Springsteen in the 1970s. You have 3 songs to capture your craft. Sometimes it's 2 songs. But during those few minutes, you all have to work together because everyone's there to do a job. Everyone's there to take their photos and then be done. One thing I will say is I cover a lot of jam bands. So instead of it being, it's 3 minutes or 3 songs or 15 minutes. Sometimes they go, well, it's just 3 songs. So I photographed a jam band called Goose last year, and 3 songs was 45 minutes.
All right.
So yeah, so about 1,300 photos later, you're like, okay, I'm done. Turn off the camera. Gotta go.
Please make it 15 minutes, please.
Actually, I do say that. One of the rules of the photo pit is, you kind of walk into any venue and you go, what are the rules for tonight? Every venue has different rules. Every band has different rules. Say, what are the rules for the night? And sometimes when they say first 3 songs and then you're shut off for the night, I look at them and I go, that's great. That means I have 15 minutes to do work and the rest I get to enjoy your concert. So they're house rules. There's a lot of nuances in music photography and concert photography, but it's fun. It's great.
Who sets those rules?
Usually it is the bands. So the band's in charge. Occasionally the house, but mostly it's the band that says, this is what we want. Some bands, I'd say some of the olderish bands, you photograph from the soundboard, which is usually 200 feet away. And sometimes that's just for people want to preserve an image. Some bands, you have to get approval before you publish. So the music industry is an industry. People want to preserve their image. So some people may not want to show imperfections, whereas other people go, I don't care, warts and all. So it just depends. But if you do a good job, they invite you back and they have no problems. And they go, yep, these photos look good.
Oh, you get invited back.
Oh, absolutely. Or if they really like your photos or they like your work, they will say, we really enjoyed seeing you last time. We'd love to have you back again. So it's a small little industry. We all kind of know each other, and it's sometimes you get invited back, or sometimes there's quote unquote promotions where you do small clubs and then eventually work to larger clubs, and then it feels like NFL playoffs or major league playoffs where all of a sudden you go to festivals, and eventually I haven't photographed anyone this large, but people say, oh, Taylor Swift, you've been approved. The bigger the band, the bigger the sometimes the request. So but to fans out there, you don't see that sort of part of the industry. The only thing you see is you wake up the next morning, you go, wow, look at these photos from last night. Well, behind those photos, there might be individuals who are working into the wee hours of the morning, for better or for good. And, we love it. I mean, I can't tell you how many people were texting one another at 2 a.m. going, oh, look at this photo. Oh, look at this photo. So Some people have trading cards. Other people are like, look at this photo of Bruce Springsteen I just photographed. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a
Yeah.
great industry.
Well, the documentary was wonderful. I really enjoyed it, and one of the things I enjoyed was just seeing the camaraderie and how everybody seemed to think of it as a we, a we. We like to do this. We do this. I do this. Other people do that. Are there? Have you run into people who don't fit into this, who are prima donnas, or do they simply not exist? Is there no room for them in this industry?
Sorry. The answer is yes, we've run into them. There are people who are genuinely that good, um, but it's usually about we. I would say some people, the prima donnas, get promoted, um, but a lot of them, you're in the industry. It's concert photography is tough work. It's it's a grind and it ages you. Not Look, I admit this is the best thing in the world. Having the privilege to photograph rock stars and go in there with a camera and a press pass. But there are some aspects of it which are tough. Some people don't last in the industry, or one of the interesting aspects is you're always trying to push the envelope to get that best shot. Sometimes people push the envelope too much, or some personality conflicts happen. So you see some people come in the industry, you see people go out of the industry. Um, but we all still have fun. And then there's some legends. I really recommend everyone watch A Year in the Pit. It's a great documentary. I think it's available for it's a free out on Vimeo and YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, it just explores that aspect of being inside the photo pit and seeing what people do.
I'd recommend it too. I was pleasantly surprised when I watched it, just how much I enjoyed it and how astounding the images were. But before we talk too much about that,
Oh yeah, oh yeah, of
uh,
course.
do's and don'ts in the industry, maybe you could just go through them with us. Things you
Mm-hmm.
do and things you don't.
Mm, let's see. I would say the do is be a good human being, be friendly to people. It's an industry, but the photographers, we're all working together. Um, the don'ts, there are a lot of don'ts. I would say there's professional courtesy and industry courtesy. It's don't hog the pit. Don't stand in the prime location, just plant your feet and assume that's the only place you can take photographs. Um, give people their professional space. The artists are there for a job, um, and so are you. I would say as the don'ts for the for fans is don't say, "Hey, you photographer, take my photo." We've had people where they assume that we're paid to take their photos. They're like, take a photo of me. And I'm like, this isn't going anywhere. This is going to be edited out. They're like, take a photo. And, I had some girl who was like, take a photo of me. Okay. And her and her friend proceeded to pick each other's nose. And I'm like, really? But it's a fun party. But I'd say be a good human being, respect the artist, respect the rules of the house. Um, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, how did you break in? And would you say the way you broke into this industry was typical or atypical?
Yeah. I think everyone follows their own path in breaking into the industry. We've all followed the same path to a certain extent, and then some nuances and some variances. I would say when I was a child, I loved music. I've always loved music, and I loved the live concert experience. And then I remember bringing in a small point and shoot camera. And that's usually what happens is someone brings in a small point and shoot. Um, Now I suppose it's more like iPhone, but back in the day it was small digital camera with a zoom lens on it, because you are not allowed to bring in anything with a detachable lens. So what you do is you go out and get one of those like Canon Power Shots with a 40 times zoom. Um, I just started photographing because I loved it. I started getting some good photos, and then I went to some venues where they allowed you to photograph. So some venues have an open camera policy, some venues do not. So I went and I started photographing more and more. I started doing more and more. Um, but in order to get access, what you have to do, and this is where I might be more different, is in order to get press passes in some rooms, you need to be affiliated with a music outlet. So if you're not affiliated, they're not giving you, let's say they're positioned for 5 to 10 people in the photo pit. They're not giving you one of those photo passes if you're not affiliated, because it's about publicity. A publicist will ask you for the sake of publicity. Now, some people go and they photograph, and some of my friends will photograph and they photograph for the artist and they get paid for it. What happened in my case is I hit a wall where I wasn't accredited, and I said, sounds like a great idea. I will make my own publication. And so me and about 3 other photographers, we built our own music website. It's called DC Music Review. We do the DC area. That was my journey. I would like to say my first photo pass was given to me by someone who took a chance on me. His name is Stenik Gubb, and he is with the jam band Twiddle, based out of Vermont. So he was the first person who gave me a photo pass, and then photo passes started. But we all have our own journey. I know the people during COVID followed their own path and their own journey. Me, I've been photographing since about 2016. So I had my own personal journey.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Were clearly you were doing something else to pay the bills prior to that, and you
Yes.
switched over. Want to talk about the moment you transitioned?
Transition to being a paid photographer. Well, the one thing I will say for a lot of people is the end. It's the equivalent of writing a video, or every little kid says, I want to write video games when I grow up. So the music industry has a lot of people who want to, this is all they want to do. They want to photograph. So I get paid, but most people, we joke around about what's your day job? What's your Clark Kent job? So I'd say the majority of photographers out there, we all have regular paying jobs. So we have our Clark Kent or Diana Price jobs. And then at night we turn into Superman and Wonder Woman. It's hard to make a living in this industry full time. Not to say it cannot be done, but during COVID, it was very difficult for a lot of people who were professional photographers, where because I was in the position where I had a regular paying job, I was sending checks to my friends so they could make rent or not sell their cameras. So the pandemic was difficult on a lot of people in the music industry and all aspects of the music industry. So, but I like to make the same salary that I do now doing photography. Yes, but it's a hustle. And there's a little bit of an arc to the industry. And I'm not going to say the negative aspects, but Everyone wants to do it. And eventually you get to a point where you know your worth, or you don't want to be up till 4 a.m. editing for, a $400 a day rate. It depends. There's single night photography. There's what's it called, festival photography. There's headshot photography and promo, but it's an industry.
Yeah. These days, most of us can snap pretty good photos with our phones, immediately see them, immediately share them. And so even more than in the past, we have an illusion where we see these amazing images and we think, oh, yeah, point and shoot. Hey, good catch. I bet I could do that. But why don't you instead take us through what it takes to get a great image to completion? What equipment do you need? What's your process?
Oh, I can't give all the trade secrets here. No. There are, I like a good, at the time I bought a DSLR, digital camera with single lens reflex. Now everyone's going into the mirrorless world. I photograph Canon because I like it. And as you'll talk to any photographer and you go, what glass do you have? Lenses cost money. So after a while, you get to the point of, I cannot afford to switch over to an incompatible lens system. So it is interesting. So even when you're in the pit, you see another photographer and you go, what glass are you using? Here. We borrow each other's lenses unless you look at someone and go, sorry, can't help you. The key is I actually photograph. I know some people photograph 2 cameras, each with a different lens. I myself photograph 1 camera and 4 lenses, and have gotten very good at switching during concerts. There have been a few times where I've dropped the lens, sometimes without damage, sometimes with a rather sizable bill involved. But the process is, at least for me, and this was recommended by one of my mentors, going to the photo pit with an idea. What are you going to do? How are you going to execute it? Usually it's, you want to photograph each individual separately and then a band shot. So it's capturing the magic. So the process is, really depends. It's a lot of, it depends on the light system, on what the stage dynamics are, what the personalities of the people up on stage are. So some people just stand there, very rigid, and sing. Some people stare at their toes. Some people don't make eye contact. You have to wait for that moment. So there's a wait for the shot, don't take the shot. Some people just take a bunch of photos, and sometimes you sit there and you have to wait, or you know what they're going to do. So that's kind of it. I know that sounds trivial and high level, but the photographers who are in the pit usually have been photographing for a while. I know myself, right before this segment, I tried to figure out how many concerts I photographed, and I can't even tell you. I've lost track, which is a good thing. At the same time, every shoot is different. Every venue is different. I came up through small clubs. One of them in the area was Gypsy Sally's. And, God, I love Gypsy Sally's. But when I first went there, horrible lights. And you learn and evolve. And I think I say to other photographers, there's no such thing as a bad photo experience. There's only an opportunity to learn. So you become like a chess master, where you have enough moves, where you know what position to get someone into, or how to put a light behind someone's head. so you're not blowing out an image. But as you evolve through the industry, you go from the small clubs to the bigger clubs. And eventually, I might be photographing at a ballpark later this year, which requires different equipment. And then someone says, "Hey, can you come and photograph me at Joe's Burger Joint?" And you have to say, "I don't even know how to photograph there anymore. Like I don't." But it's just about all these camera moves, and then the post processing. I will say this: every photographer has their own digital fingerprint. I can look at certain people's photographs and go, "Yep, I know who that person is. Up, I know who that person is." Some people are very stylized with how they capture. Some people are very stylized in their post processing. And I'm not going to say we're not AI, although a bunch of us joke around about the AI stuff going on. But there's a lot of post processing. Some people keep it very raw and minimal what their edits are. There may or may not be mic stains that have been edited out of a photograph, or a band member, or you get this great photograph of someone, and then there's the bass, guitar neck in the photo, and you scrub that out. So I would say the quintessence of the photo is always there. It's just you might edit it to bring out the most natural appeal
Yeah.
of that photo.
Thank you. That's a great answer.